Friday the 13th Part 6, Jason Lives, is probably my favorite installment of the series. While I love pretty much all of the films prior, there's something about this one that stands out to me. Maybe it was because I was just at the right age to see this one in the theater by myself with a few of my horror movie-loving friends. Or maybe it was because of the awesome Alice Cooper music video. Or the fun balance of comedy and horror writer-director Tom McLoughlin delivered. Or maybe it was all of those reasons. Whatever it was, I can't help but smile every time I watch this installment, which may be the last of the great Friday the 13th movies. Welcome back to ML Miller Frights, a part of the Kings of Horror Network. I'm ML Miller. While you might be watching this video on the Kings of Horror Network, I urge you to click over to my ML Miller Frights YouTube page and give it a like. Please share with all of your buddies. Click subscribe to this channel, and don't forget to ring that bell for notifications. Friday the 13th Part 6, Jason Lives, came out in 1986. It was directed and written by Tom McLoughlin. This film is included in the Shout Factory's new Friday the 13th Collection Deluxe Edition box set. I provide the link below if you're interested in picking that up. While Freddy was tearing up the box office, the folks behind the franchise decided it was time to stop dilly-dallying around playing Who's Wearing the Hockey Mask, as they did with Part 5, A New Beginning, and return to what was familiar. Bringing in a director with some horror cred, One Dark Night's Tom McLoughlin, the film injected the right amount of morbid fun into the ongoing story of our favorite backwoods machete murderer, and it brought him back in style. Part 6 opens with Tommy Jarvis, played by Return of the Living Dead's Tom Matthews, barreling down the road to a small cemetery in the newly named town of Forest Green, formerly known as Crystal Lake, to make certain that Jason's body is completely destroyed in order to bury his own demons for good. Upon digging up the grave, Tommy flips out and stabs Jason's corpse with a large iron fence post. But as Tommy goes to get the gasoline to reduce the corpse to ashes, a double bolt of lightning shoots down into the pole, reanimating Jason for an all-new killing spree. Right off the bat, we realize this new Jason is much more powerful than before as he punches a hole directly through his first victim. And part of the fun of Part 6 is seeing Jason discover just how powerful he has become. There are some hilariously human moments here that don't make fun of Jason, but they do highlight some still human aspects of the man-monster as he tilts his head to the side like a dog trying to understand why the RV is bouncing up and down when people inside are sexing it up, and giving the same confused look to an arm he accidentally rips right from the body of one of his victims, as if by accident. These moments are played for comedy, but they also show a side of Jason that we haven't seen before. Now, some might balk at the way Jason is portrayed in Jason Lives, but McLoughlin states that he wanted to make the film much more like a classic Universal monster movie. This makes sense as Jason is a creature that has emerged from the crypt. He's stiff and sometimes robotic here. He's not clumsy, but he doesn't know the full extent of his power. This resurrected Jason is definitely more powerful than what we've seen before in the series, but he's not used to the power. While stuntman and former military man C.J. Graham's performance may seem a bit stiff, it also can be seen as somewhat tentative and more conscious of his own movements due to the lack of movement for such a long time. Later in the series, Jason becomes a much more fluid killer in his movements, but here he is definitely much more of a robot, which adds to an inhuman quality to the character that we haven't seen before. Graham's performance isn't my favorite, but I think it gels with the tone and themes used in Jason Lives, and works in this instance. I'm achy and stiffed after getting out of bed in the morning after one good night's sleep. Imagine if you were in the grave for years, and you can understand why Jason isn't the most limber. Realizing he's fucked up, Tommy heads off to the sheriff's office to get them in on the action. Of course, they don't believe him, but the sheriff's rebellious daughter, Megan, played charismatically by Jennifer Cook, who is so 80s hot here, is more than happy to bust him out and help him on his quest. I always thought John Shepard from Friday the 13th Part 5, A New Beginning, played things a little too cardboard as Tommy Jarvis, the boy who took down Jason. Seeing Tom Matthews in the role gives the Tommy character much more mania, but he's still also likable at times. Matthew plays Tommy as a driven character who may be distracted by Megan's moose knuckle jeans for a short time, but once he sees Jason, he cares about nothing but revenge. What makes Jason Lives so much fun is that it seems like McLoughlin had a blast coming up with kills that are unique and entertaining. Jason tears folks apart, using unconventional instruments of murder to enact his vengeance. Some of the most iconic scenes in the series come from this installment, specifically the scene where Jason is standing in the middle of the road with a spear, and the entire RV scene ending with Jason standing atop a flaming RV, proud as a peacock of his kill. This is a film to go see in the theater and laugh out loud every time Jason takes a life. McLoughlin recognizes Jason's anti-hero potential here, giving him numerous poster-worthy shots through the entire film. Another first for the film is that there are actually kids involved here. Most of the time, the counselors are setting up camp, but with the inclusion of kids, the danger is upped a notch or three. While I would like to think Jason, who himself is kind of a grown-up man-child, wouldn't murder kids, there are subtle hints here and there that make it feel he might have gone there given the time. For instance, Jason slowly walks up to Nancy, the main little girl, played by Courtney Vickery, while she is praying for him to go away in the cabin, but is distracted when the police show up to the camp. We'll never know if Jason would have done what he does best in that case, but it sure seems that when he bursts through the same cabin wall after doing away with the entire police force, he intends to do some serious harm to the little kiddies. It would have made for a much darker movie, but McLoughlin only suggests the danger rather than shoving it in our faces. At the same time, I think a missed opportunity was had here to give a little bit more attention to the kids and maybe set up a scenario where Nancy is being bullied by some of the other kids, which would have reflected back to Jason's own experience with bullies as a kid. One of the things that always annoyed me with Jason Lives are the two young, cool kids having a lame running commentary under the bed. So what did you want to be when you grew up? A scene where those two kids push Nancy into the water, and then a later one where Jason smashes their New Kids on the Block haircutted heads together like watermelons would have been pretty satisfying. Or maybe that's just me. While they only share one on-screen smooch, Tommy and Megan are one of the more likable couples in the entire Friday the 13th franchise. Sure, they just met, but there's a lot of solid chemistry between the two. I think a lot of that has to do with Jennifer Cooke's charm. I love the rebellious sheriff's daughter role she plays, yet she shows a lot of strength when she realizes she has to take care of the kids when all the rest of the counselors are dead. She also shows her more innocent side in the surprisingly touching scenes where she's calling out for her daddy when she keeps finding her friends dead around the camp. I was also quite surprised at how moving Sheriff Garris's role was, played by David Kagan. This could have been a one-note hard-ass lawman role, but because he's also a single father, there's a layer there that adds a bit more depth. I found myself rooting for the guy when he bursts out and desperately attacks Jason when he realizes the monster is heading for his daughter. This feels like one of the last Friday the 13th installments where there is a real attention to character, as the actors don't just feel like fodder for Jason to knock down, but actual thought-out characters played by capable actors. Even smaller roles like McLaughlin's wife Nancy McLoughlin, who drives the VW and gets speared in the face, have a memorable charm to them. Keen eyes will see Welcome Back Kotter's Horshack, played by Ron Palillo as Tommy's partner in crime who doesn't have the heart for grave robbing, and Ghost's Tony Goldwyn can be seen on the business end of Jason's spear at one point in the film. Another notable kill is Scream Queen Darcy DeMoss's face being shoved through the metal siding of an RV, which could never happen in a million years, but it makes for a cool kill nevertheless. I also enjoyed the lovable tool that is Court, played by Tom Fridley, for his sheer douchebaggerishness that exemplified the era the film was made, and the childish glee he has driving the RV. Another thing I wanted to point out is the unwarranted brutality of Paula's death scene. Carrie Noonan plays the character as sincere as can be, and if you're following horror rules, she's pretty much the epitome of the final girl, as she seems to be smart, spunky, yet innocent and virginal at the same time. But Jason tears her apart, tossing her in and out of a window, and then repainting the entire room with her insides. It makes for one of the more horrific scenes in the entire film. Friday the 13th Part 6 is just tops for me. It highlighted that these movies can be fun and feels much more on point and mainstream than most of the later films in the series. There are a few times the horror missed its mark. The smiley face in the tree after the survivalist smashes into it is lame. As is caretaker Martin's line, "Some folks sure have a strange idea of entertainment," said straight into the camera. But scenes where Jason tracks Paula as she walks through the children's bunks from behind the window, and the scene where Jason spears Tony Goldwyn and tosses him over his head and then bursts through the window of the RV bug more than makes up for a few cringy moments. And again, from start to finish, that entire mobile home scene is one of the most iconic scenes of the series. Add in the final shot of Jason floating from a chain at the bottom of Crystal Lake, and this film is chock full of moments that should make Friday the 13th fans stand up and cheer. I know I did when my friends and I saw it in the theater. Jason Lives shows Jason during the day too much, and there's way too much showing of Jason altogether. The trademark kill, 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 ma, ma, ma is scantily used, but at least we have that thunderous Manfredini score. McLoughlin really was going for an old school monster movie vibe here, and it worked. He states in the bonus features that this movie could be filmed in black and white, and it would play right along with those old monster movie flicks. I wholeheartedly agree. McLoughlin adds in some fun winks and nods to Friday the 13th and horror greats using Cunningham, Carpenter, and Garris for names and places. Plus, the use of Karloff's garage is not a coincidence given the fact that Jason is given life by electricity, just like Frankenstein. These small acknowledgments are subtle, but give deft listeners something to smile at. And that seems to be McLoughlin's goal in this film, making a Friday the 13th movie that can be fun and scary all at once, an all-around great time at the movies. Of all the extras, the true highlight for me of this collection deluxe edition box set is an animated storyboard sequence of the unfilmed final scene with Jason's father Elias as he visits his grave and realizes his boy's body is not buried there. Part of me wishes that they would have gone this route with the series, though not a lot of detail about Mr. Voorhees is provided to suggest as to whether or not that would have been a cool development. Deleted scenes don't show much more than a couple of seconds here and there of blood and gore. What really bothers me most is that the disc doesn't include Alice Cooper's He's Back, the Man Behind the Mask video. The accompanying music video was a must for all films of the late 80s, as MTV had become an all-important tentpole of youth culture at the time, and once heard, you won't be able to get it out of your head all day. He's Back, the Man Behind the Mask is a fantastic little rock ode to Jason, and while the video is all kinds of cheese, it still gets me all excited and takes me back to the weeks leading up to me seeing this film in theaters when it first came out. Though it's not on the Blu-ray, for your listening pleasure, I've included a link to it below for those too young to remember its sheer awesomeness. For me, it doesn't get any better than Friday the 13th Part 6, Jason Lives. Sure, there are highlights in upcoming installments, and the original 4 were the best, but this is a fantastic bookend to the Tommy Jarvis saga portion of the franchise. Not only does the film encapsulate the era that it was made, but it really elevated the franchise to a higher level of mainstream fun. Relish in this one, folks. It's all downhill from here. That'll be it for today. Please chime in down below in the comments and let me know how on the nose or mind-numbingly wrong I am, or you can counter with your own review. So guys, you know how YouTube works. I'd love to be able to dedicate more time to this channel. I'm not monetized yet, so if you want to help me out, remember to hit all the pertinent bells and whistles down below. Want some spooky comics to read? I have 2 new horror comic book trade paperbacks you should look out for. Both GRAVETRANCERS and Pirouette, collecting never-before-published issues, can be found in only the finest of comic book shops. If you're looking for written reviews, you can find them on my website, mlmillerwrites.com. If you really want to show your support, I also have a Patreon page at mlmiller. Look for the link to my Patreon page down below. Thank you so much for your time, and take care.
You're doomed to live the life you're meant to be, stuck inside your reality. You're